everyone, and welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave. Today we will be discussing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. My name is Michal. I'm inkasrain on the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums. Otherwise, I think unofficially known as the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. freak. And today I have with me Eddie.
Hello, hailed Hydra. Ted Hard on the forums.
And Adam, who is a loyal member of S.H.I.E.L.D. and not Hydra, right?
Correct. Also known as Drowned Snow on the forums.
It's really funny, though, because I continually think that Hydra, like, it was such a big deal last year, and now it's kind of like, oh, right. Like,
it's just sort of like they're a nice foil when you need them. But also, you know, which shield would we belong to, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll have to discuss that when we get up to that. But let's, I guess, get started with the lemon cake ratings. I don't know what an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. lemon cake would be. Like buses?
One of those spinny, disintegrating things.
The Terrigen crystals?
Splinter bombs or Terrigen crystals. Yeah, we have a lot of...
Terrigen fish pills.
Oh, okay, there we go.
The essential fish oils.
Omega CREITS.
That's perfect.
Okay, so I would probably give this season a 4 Omega CREITS out of 5. I think there were some real highs. There were some very frustrating moments. But I think overall it works very well as a story. Adam, what about you?
I'd be right there with you. I think I'd give it a 4. I mean, like, kind of like the few dull episodes in there you can write off as like having to put out such a long season, you know, for network and all that.
Agreed. And Eddie?
What did I give it last year? Probably, but more than I'd give it last year's season 1. I'd say 4.5. No, 4. It's so long. I'm not really used to American shows in the UK because most we have is about 13 episodes. So when you get something 22 episodes long and it actually has a flowing plot line, but you forget what happens at the start.
Yeah,
it's like 5
especially
episodes
with the big
and you don't know
break.
Yeah, I almost forgot Xena was in it.
Yeah. No, it's true because I mean last year it was even weirder, right? Because the first this season 2A and 2B were like sort of unofficially separate stories. You know, they had very distinct arcs, but in season 1 it was really like, okay, we have like these like setup episodes of like all this stuff, and then stuff sort of starts to get interesting with the clairvoyant, but not really, and then like the story actually started in like episode 16, and it was like, okay, fine, here we are. And this season it was really kind of two distinct storylines that sort of blended into each other, which was something I really liked about the last few episodes of this season, actually, that they kind of brought back stuff from both season 1 and the beginning of season 2. But yeah, so what did you guys think were kind of the highlights, lowlights of the season? Did you have like a favorite episode or something that you were just like, this is absolutely terrible? Because for me, my least favorite episode was the one, at least as I'm remembering it correctly, the one with Cal and those supervillains. Like, it made
that was garbage.
Yeah, it was, right? Like, it was, the good thing about it was that we got Dr. Garner and he was awesome, but the rest of it was like garbage. Like, nobody was acting in character. The supervillains made no sense. Like, I don't even know why it didn't even occur to me, but like somebody on Reddit was like, why is this woman on the index, the woman with the blades on her fingers, why is she on the index?
She just needs surgery.
Yeah, she should just be in a crazy farm. They're really sharp though, and she seems to have good upkeep for them.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense. Like I could like explain it to myself in my mind that like maybe she has some kind of property that like her body isn't rejecting it and S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to study it or whatever. But like I shouldn't have to do that. Like this is just a silly, ridiculous thing, and whatever. Either there should have been an explanation for why they hadn't cut at least like cut things off or cut her fingers off.
There could have been dialogue that like it, you know, she has something and, you know, the metal goes all the way into her nervous system, you know, like if we take it out it'll kill her, or there could have been something silly where we could have gone, okay, whatever, but they didn't even try.
Yeah, exactly. And my favorite episode, maybe episode 5 with Bobby and Simmons and Hydra. Like, that one was, obviously, I mean, Simmons is my favorite character, so my favorite episode is going to have, Simmons in it. And she was like sidelined for a lot of this season. But I really liked that episode. I thought Bobby's reveal was really cool, and they had that thing where Coulson kind of calls Raina's bluff on like revealing Simmons to Hydra, and like that was like crazy because the way the scene was set up, it was like, oh yeah, okay, so he's gonna, like there's a timer going and she's gonna call her bluff, or the timer's not gonna be, real or whatever, but it ended up, just going off, and Coulson had a different plan, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that one's good. Have you noticed Simmons always wears black and white? He's kind of
a
lot this season.
Yeah. Something I especially noticed in that episode, because she's basically half like, black, half white.
Right up until the end of the season, actually, she's been wearing a ton of black and white, and then like in the last scene, she had like black and white, but like there were colors, or like mostly white with little circles, and it's all really cool.
Favorite episode
or moment, or
my favorite moment's probably because it was quite badass when Skye was in the Hydra base for the Age of Ultron tie-in, and she's just like going to town on guys.
Yes.
Not using her powers, but using her agent skills.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job with that.
Was it all one shot? I can't quite remember, but it was like all shot like that.
Yeah, it was the same guy who did, I think he actually did episode, like the bad episode with the supervillains too, but he also did the May versus May fight, and that was really cool as well, so.
Yeah. Well, that villain episode could have, like, if they had just been like, well, let's not give them, like, H-list people, or just make up people. Like, if they'd give them, like, a couple people, if they're, like, like, I mean, we saw what, like, Absorbing Man was in there early. Like, they could have used some people, like, who actually had some sort of threatening power.
Yeah. And, I mean, like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care so much, not being a comics fan, like, what their powers are. It just, like, nothing really held together, like, how is Cal getting these people across America in a like, whatever it's called, a van, and, like, breaking out of all these places and doing all these things, and then, like, when they're in the football field, right, and apparently the Screamer guy, like, the very, very strong implication in the episode is that all of those kids have been killed by this guy. Right. Like, very strong. None of them move. None of them, like, whatever. And Coulson's like, oh my God, what did you do? And nobody notices in the entire town that, like, a quarter of the high school is lying unconscious on the football field. And, and then I'm assuming, but at the end of the season, I was like, I'm assuming that they aren't dead, because there was no way that Coulson would have let Cal get away with the murder of, like 40 high school students. Like, so they must have just been knocked out. It was just and it took me like two proper viewings to get that Cal was actually threatening the town with Angar's, like, screaming.
Yeah, through the radio, right?
Yeah, there was no hint of that other than Cal saying that, and, like, no cuts to, like, somebody listening to the radio. Also, who the hell listens to the radio?
In small towns, they don't get no TV out there.
What's this internet thing you're talking about?
I lived in a town of about 3,000 people for like 6 months during my teens, and it was like literally there was a station that played like Sinatra music, a station that played country music, and then like the weather news station, and like you couldn't get any TV. Like, the high school was like 80 people. Like, we literally, like, this was back when, like, Napster was first starting. We literally were, like, on, like, Friday and Saturday nights, like, could you just let us play music we like? And, like, we'll try to find sponsors. There's just a bunch of teenagers being, like, we're tired of listening to your music. And, like, because there's just nothing else. But then again, nowadays, everyone has internet. I mean, that was, like, a decade ago, so.
Yeah. It just was kind of lazy writing, and it was, like, they had this idea for the supervillains, and it just didn't, and I like the idea that, that Skye, ended up kind of hurting herself, and like that was part of, you know, the major reveal of that episode, that she not only has the power to hurt other people, but she doesn't want to do that so much that she's, you know, very badly physically hurting herself. But like, you know, just everything else was like, I, you know, didn't understand. And Simmons was in a weird position in that episode too. Like, this is partly how I define episodes, because, you know, she was like, oh, we should just, you know, we should just put Skye on like medication and it'll dull her senses. And I was like, no, that's what bad people say. That's like what bad doctors say. Like, don't go there.
They definitely had her on like team kind of paranoid, but I mean, after Tripp's death, I think we were supposed to think that she was just sort of, you know, never again type of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could talk about Simmons later, but like, I wasn't even, her anti-Inhuman thing didn't bother me as much as just like this particular manifestation of it, you know? But anyway, another moment I will say I really liked was when, in the Dirty Half Dozen, I think it was, when like Simmons tries to kill Ward and then like kills Bakshi, and then he's like coming up to her and she like really thinks she's gonna die right there, and it's just like totally unrepentant, and I was like, yeah, I love you. So shocking. You guys are gonna have to talk about everyone else. I'll just talk about Simmons. Okay, cool. So any other highlights or anything you want to talk about before we go into season 2A?
I don't know. I thought.
Science, biatch.
Yeah, I thought both the finales and premieres, like mid-season and whatnot, were both pretty strong. It's kind of a small moment, but like I liked. Was it the week before the finale or whatever, when he's basically explaining where we've been repairing the helicarrier from Avengers, because man, I've been looking for that thing since Captain America 2. I'm just like, where did it go? Like, why isn't he using it? Like, and I thought maybe it was just gone forever and we were just supposed to assume that, I don't know, no one had it.
Yeah, and that's the one that Coulson is repairing, and that's what Theta Protocol is.
Yeah, that's what shows up in the movie.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I was just like, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, the 3 in Captain America 2 were brand new ones, and if Fury's not on one, then shouldn't I'm like, it's probably just the budget, right? Like, we can't afford a helicarrier on the show, but, you know, I thought, well, Coulson should probably be using that if he's running S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, although it's all very funny, right? Like, apparently the army or nobody can find this massive ship that, you know, other S.H.I.E.L.D. has.
It's underground. You don't look for ships underground.
No, not that helicarrier.
The aircraft carrier.
Yeah, the one that Gonzalez is working off of.
Okay.
Adama.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, my brother hated him on the show because he's like, oh, well, that's just Adama.
But I think he had a few really good moments, and I think even right up until his death, like, I was actually kind of sad to see him go.
I was too. I mean, I feel like I liked the character, and I liked that, you know, they really weren't BSing us about him. He was kind of like, he was above board as far as all that goes, and like he and Coulson kind of kept one-upping each other and thinking that they had the upper hand when really kind of it was sort of a stalemate. But I think they might have gone a little too far, and like when he kept being like, you know, oh, that thing, like that, you know, when referring to, you know, Skye and Mike and all these people who like we know and really like as like totally, you know, non-human, because I can't say inhuman, as non-human because they were, you know, had powers in some kind of way. And right, because that was like, okay, now
because in every other way he didn't seem like that kind of a guy. Exactly.
Yeah. But we can talk about that in just a minute. Well, I'm sure it'll be a little more than a minute, but season 2A was basically, you know, it was focused, I guess it's so hard to remember, but the mystery was basically Coulson's writing, and kind of what that was and what it meant. Other plot lines involved, you know, Simmons being undercover in Hydra for a while, which ended a little bit like quickly, and Ward being kept at in Vault D at the playground, but then breaking out and murdering his family and blah blah blah. Fitz having brain damage. We also met a few new characters very briefly. Xena, otherwise known as Agent Isabel Hartley, who was really cool and then just got killed by the stupid absorbing man, which is a really dumb name. And almost had her hand. She was the first person we saw that, like, oh my gosh, the Diviner, or at that point we're calling it the Obelisk, does all this weird stuff to people. Her friend / partner Hunter, who is a mercenary who eventually winds up joining S.H.I.E.L.D. Mac, who is like a mechanic guy, ends up bonding with Fitz. Sky's father, Cal. We also have, like, the big bad of that part of the season was Daniel Whitehall, former Nazi Hydra head person. And we also met Mockingbird, who was undercover who's doubly undercover, actually. She was undercover for Gonzalez, for Coulson, for Gonzalez at Hydra.
I you know what? It wasn't until this moment that I just I realized that.
Yeah.
Because it was so long ago. I'm like, well, she was undercover for... Oh, no, wait. She was never really working for Coulson. That's right.
Yeah.
Huh.
And neither was Mac, so that was all very interesting. Yeah, so that was basically the season. You know, we kind of wound up at, with Reyna kind of pulling a bunch of strings and being obsessed with the Diviner, and Cal kind of orchestrating that as well. Like, everybody kind of combining to get mostly Sky, but also Coulson, and sadly Trip into this underground alien city where, you know, the Terrigen crystals went off and Sky broke out of her cocoon and became unearthed as, we don't call her Quake yet, but Daisy Johnson / she has Earthquake powers, yay! And Reyna turns into, like, a thing, and Trip dies. And that's where we left season 2A, and then we had 3 months off over the horrible, horrible winter that this was.
You had Agent Carter.
Yes, we had Agent Carter. I'm more actually talking about, like, the physical winter. It was just miserable.
Yeah, it was intense.
Well, we had about I got soaking wet crossing the road at our village just to get to my car because we had hailstones and all sorts today.
Today?
Yeah.
Does England not have May?
It just rains and never stops.
Oh, my God.
It's like San Diego.
It spoils the crops.
May's our bad month there.
There's whole songs about this British weather. I can sing it right now because I know it by heart.
Oh, my God. Please do. Please do.
Oh, do I really have to?
No, you don't have to. You don't want to. Save it for later. I'll pull it out if I need a favor. So thoughts on the first half of the season? We also met Bakshi, who I really liked.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job of... I mean, the first season they had a problem. I had a couple problems, right? They were a bit hamstrung with characters. But they brought in a lot of new characters, and I think for the most part they all worked. I mean, maybe a couple that didn't, and then eventually we had to lose some people. But I think the show definitely needed to expand from the core cast, and they did it quickly, and they brought in characters that were likable and capable, and like I can't really think of any of them on either side, like the heroes, villains, that I was just like, oh, why is that person here, you know?
Mm-hmm. What about you, Eddie?
Most of all kind of interesting. I really hated Whitehall, but I suppose that's his job.
Yeah.
Hunter's cool because he's British, and but I didn't really like Mac that much.
No.
He was just like too good. I suppose like a Boy Scout. You
didn't like the bromance, huh?
No.
It's not a bromance. He is in love with Fitz. I'm telling you guys, he is totally gay and in love with Fitz.
That's the reveal. They're gonna console. He's gonna console Fitz next season.
Well, see, I really thought they were going for that because not like before the finale, like when Fitz and Simmons were kind of like getting okay, but not really. I really thought, and after Max saved Fitz from the explosion, I really thought that he was going to like confess to him that he was in love with him, because that was right after that episode where we saw the like other 48 days of other S.H.I.E.L.D. and what they were up to when Hydra came out. And he, like, Mac was there with this, like, the other mechanic who, like, sacrificed himself for Mac. And, like, I felt like it was very strongly implied that they were together.
But I actually thought that episode was slightly disappointing in some way. Just, like, the other S.H.I.E.L.D., like, the background they gave us, I thought was a bit disappointing. But...
yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Again, not a minute that's not a minute. But, I think, for me, like it got a little bit frustrating. I can't decide, right? Because like all told, when you look at it together, it like the reveals come fairly quickly, right? Like it's episode like 7 or 8 or something that we figure out what the alien writing is, which I guess which is a pretty extended amount of time, but it is like a big mystery. And then, it all, I don't know. I think something that impressed me most about the first part of the season was kind of like how much the characters felt like very distinctly changed, like it felt very genuine that everyone had gone through these shifts that, obviously Fitz was, in like trying to recover from his brain damage. And like I can't even tell you guys like how loudly I like exclaimed the first time I saw the first episode and you saw that Simmons was imaginary. And I was just like, I was so upset. But like Sky was like my least favorite person in season 1. And like she got significant. Yeah, like she was really like I hated her. I have like posts on my Tumblr that are like, I just hate this character. I hate everything she is. And she got a lot better for me after the Hydra reveal, and it was like she wasn't all like flirty and everything with Ward, and that became kind of a non-issue. But this season, like I really appreciated her character. And I think her changes seemed very organic. I think she's probably a little too badass when it's all said and done at the end. But like for the most part, I thought like for the bulk of the season, it seemed like she had a pretty good skill set for what she was and her determination level. So that's, I guess, what I liked about it. I'm trying to think. What did you guys think about Whitehall as kind of the primary antagonist?
Yeah, he was real creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did anyone think he can't be just dead because he stole someone's weird vampire regenerating?
Well, but
Wolverine
we see now. Like at first, I kind of thought, well, I mean, it seems she lives forever and she just has that regeneration, right? And so I'm like, well, I guess she's, I mean, he's not dead. How can he be dead? But then now we get to the end of the season and we see that she basically like eats other people for that. Like if there was no one around for him to like latch onto, a shot in the head, cut him up, like, if there's no one to put him back together, I think that's the end of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually see his body; he just falls off screen, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
so he might come back.
Well, he was totally intact. He just had like, a bullet hole through the heart.
I don't know what they did with the body though. I mean, because then that whole place got blown up, right? Later on.
Yeah.
But like that was much later, so like they leveled the whole thing.
Well, they leveled the thing underground, I think. Let the water in, or let the ocean in. Like when the season came back.
Wasn't he like right on top of that?
I don't know.
We don't know what happened to like the theater or whatever it was that they were.
Yeah, that's true.
At. I mean, I also was at first like, okay, so wow, that was surprising. Like the second they kill a villain like that, it's like, oh, I guess he wasn't such a big deal after all. It's like a little bit of a letdown. But then, once Jiaying's like power was revealed, I was like, okay, so he's going to come back and that's going to be a thing. And like, it's going to be like a shocker in the last episode or something. But right, once the like details of her power were revealed, I don't think I think they have it in their arsenal if they want to, but like I don't think that Whitehall like he served this plot line very well, but I don't think he's like objectively, we've already seen
like his point,
Strucker and List, and
his point was introducing us to the Inhumans, kind of, right? Like getting us on that path,
right, and like embodying Hydra,
And now we have someone new for that.
Right. Multiple people. So so I did like him. And I love Reed Diamond. I think he's an awesome actor and just like really like embraces the creepy. I was convinced, by the way, that Simmons was brainwashed, like completely like this is canon, this is going to happen, convinced. And
just never showed up.
I can't even tell you how many times I was like, it's going to be this episode. Yeah, 100%. And then, which I didn't think was like I think they laid the groundwork. Like they kind of kept bringing up, the brainwashing and kept making us aware of it. But, that wasn't where they went in the end. Who are the other like antagonists of part 1? I guess just Bakshi, and then and Agent 33. We met Agent 33.
And Talbot to an extent, right?
Right.
To Album.
I like him.
I suppose.
Yeah. And Reyna, right? I do like Talbot a lot, actually.
It's like we're gonna, he's just like the incompetent, military guy, kind of like.
Yep. Well, I like that he is both competent and incompetent. He's like,
right. Yeah, he's competent when we need it for our purposes, but then he can't get anything.
The one where they broke into Warden 33 broke into the base, and he thought his wife was like the game changer, and like
that was great.
Put his go at him. He's like, "Oh, I've got to buy so much pie."
I like where he's like pulling on the lady's face. It's you.
Oh yeah, did you? Yeah. Huh. Oh yeah, that was so funny.
Maybe I'm going about this wrong.
That was a pretty big, I guess, plant that happened in season 1, in part 1, that we got introduced to, Agent 33 being brainwashed, and,
I really thought she was gonna find a way to come back.
At some point,
I was, I'm not really that upset. Like, it makes sense, but I legitimately thought that, like, they're going to find a way to rescue her or something. And it sort of makes sense why, at the end of the season, why they treated her like they did. Like, why she had a bit more leeway to do what she did. But
given that they were just...
Once she realized that she was brainwashed, I guess it was sort of like, it was kind of her choice at that point. Like, she wasn't serving Hydra anymore, so...
Yeah. Okay, I'm actually going to pull in Amber. So, Amber, do you want to give us your lemon cake rating for season 2?
For season 2, yes. 5. I don't want to go super crazy, but I would probably give season 1 like a 4. And this one definitely, I really enjoyed season 1, but I would give it a big step up. So 4.5 and hopefully room to grow.
Awesome. And do you have any like favorite episodes or moments or least favorite? We all decided that the episode with the supervillains was crap, but other than that.
Yeah. My problem is I don't have a brain. And so not having a chance to have kind of rewatch things, I mainly just have overall impressions because I have a trouble remembering specific things. But just in general, I really enjoyed it. I felt like I don't really talk to a lot of people about TV, but if I were, I didn't feel like I would have had to defend this season as much. Mm-hmm. And I love Deathlock coming back. That was kind of cool. And Evil Ward, who looks like my ex-boyfriend.
I think he looks like everyone's ex-boyfriend. Or what they wish their ex-boyfriend was, anyway.
Anything specific? Nothing really specific. I just really enjoyed it all.
Awesome. Okay, I'll drop the doc into the chat. There we go. Yeah, so we're kind of discussing the first half of season 1, and I mean we're all kind of having this issue that it's a little hard to remember. You don't really think of there being such a long time between September and May, but yeah, there really is, especially with that 3-month gap in between. But I guess. Yeah, I mean, other things that happened, we were talking about Agent 33 and kind of that her journey and Ward's kind of collided at the end of that half of the season. And so I know Ward is kind of a controversial topic, but I know where I stand on this, or don't stand.
Yeah.
Maybe should be.
Did you like him initially?
I thought he was fine. I liked his I liked the idea of there being this like kind of like very protective, like very militant guy, you know, obviously very intelligent, but like primarily there to be the muscle. And I liked the idea of like him protecting all the little science babies. But, you know, so I wasn't like, oh my God, I actually spent a lot of season 1 being like, Ward is not boring. Stop saying that he's not boring. And then it turned out that he actually had been very boring.
He had been until, yeah. But I think that's one of the brilliant things that the show did is both with Skye and Ward. I was kind of, you know, and a lot of people were just sort of, oh look, it's the little, you know, look, she brings out her hacker skills, and he's like kind of the boring, you know, man with the, you know, the square jaw, and like it was just, you know, after I think a lot of people quit after a few episodes just because like there's nothing special going on here. And over the course of, you know, the end of that season and this season, like both of those characters are like, oh no, you can't let them go. Like they're great characters to watch now, which like very few shows can pull something like that off.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I definitely just kind of didn't get the big deal about Ward through pretty much all of season 1. And then for the first 2/3, 3/4 of season 2, it was like, I was just so sure he was working some angle and somehow deep down he was going to, like even when he burned his parents' house down, I was like, you know, he can have his revenge. Yes, he can have his revenge and still be true to Coulson somehow. But of course, now I'm like, okay, I'm convinced.
I'm sure that's what he was thinking.
In his own twisted way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's all
think
about closure.
that's something that's really interesting about this character, though. I think that, I mean, I hate him. I've hated him from the second he murdered Victoria Hand, and just like have been very much anti the character. But I think the reason why, you know, people kind of have conflicted feelings about him is because, and again, like I do think that the show has telegraphed for us that he is a villain, but I think it's not the typical like villain's arc that we see. Like for one thing, it's kind of almost too violent than a typical like mustache twisting villain, you know, like shows kind of sometimes hold back on that, but Ward just kind of like literally does whatever, you know, and he is so self-deluded that like, and I think it's, you know, a credit to Brett Dalton. I mean, my skin crawls every time I see him, but like he really sells that like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the victim here. Like,
yeah.
You're all being really mean to me. I had a sad childhood. Like, I didn't want to, like, kill Victoria Hand, but, like, I had to. Like, why don't you guys understand that? And I think they've committed to that delusion, or I think that era might have passed by now, but I think they really committed to that, and that is what made it confusing. That, like, you don't have, like, because he wasn't trying to get redemption. Like, no. He wasn't doing those things, but he was like pretending that he was, and that kind of, I think, threw everyone for a loop, and it was very interesting writing.
But for a lot of viewers, I mean, he still is kind of the victim, right? Like with his backstory. So what we typically expect is, oh, well, there's going to be a redemption. There's going to be he's going to have that moment where he sacrifices himself, and then it's all good, or you know. Yeah. And I was just like, if they do that, I'm just going to stop watching, because I feel like that would be a waste of what they've done. But there's still a lot of people that I think want that, and I think if you got it, you would be disappointed.
Yeah. Well, and there's somebody just an hour ago on Wolfcast, somebody said something about villains generally being just not that bright. And the spooky thing about Ward, and the thing that makes me interested in him as a character is that he is on top of his game. Like, he's generally a couple steps ahead, and it makes the stakes higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Like, he really doesn't mess up. And
except when he stabs Agent 33 in the gut 5 times really fast.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. That was really insane. I have so many conflicted feelings about that. But yeah, I guess let's move on into, unless Eddie, did you have any specific thoughts about Ward?
Yeah, I did say was a fan of the redemptive arc from the first cast we did for season 1, and I was totally wrong. I'll admit that.
I'm curious what Bina thinks. Maybe eventually she'll.
Oh, I'm seeing on Friday. I'll ask her.
Oh yeah, ask her, because I was like, in our last cast, I was like, no, he's evil, he's the worst, and she's like, no, he had an abusive childhood. But that was funny too, right? Because the show kind of like, I'm not sure if they did the best job with this or not, but like, that's all very vague, you know. Like it's like, yeah, he had a really tough childhood, and like apparently their parents were terrible, his and his brothers, but you know, it kind of, we don't really get anything. And I mean, it's not like you can like correlate 1-to-1 abuse to action, but like Ward relies on that for a damn long time, you know, and is conscious of relying on that. But anyway, that's sort of still relevant for the second half of the season, in which basically Sky is an Inhuman. She has earthquake powers. We meet a bunch more Inhumans, including Reyna, who, it was actually really funny to me because everyone spent like those 3 months between episode 10 and episode 11 being like, who is Reyna? What is she from the comics? Where is she from? She's Tigra. She's like this person, that person. She's no one. She's literally just this invention from the show.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was totally new.
Completely new. Completely new. And I mean, I think there are things that are like slightly reminiscent, but like definitely that, like, because she doesn't have any powers of her like appearance. Right, she has no, like, she can't like shoot those darts.
No, but that's a very Inhuman thing, though. Like, some of them just get powers, and then they look real weird. That has nothing to do with what their powers do.
One guy turned into a dog that could teleport or something.
Well, no, they just have a dog that can teleport. But
Yeah.
He's not a guy
no,
inside.
it's just like their like crazy alien dog.
Oh, okay. That's.
I thought it was someone's brother or something. I don't know. I've got to read it again.
The whole thing with Inhumans, and probably what they're going to do with the movie, is going to be like the king and the royal family and all these people, which I don't know. We'll see how they make all that happen. But yeah, like most of the main Inhumans are all related to each other.
So, Adam, I get a little confused with the whole Marvel, Sony, mutants, Inhumans, whatever. Are mutants and Inhumans the same for each thing, or are they completely different?
Oh no. Yeah, no, this is like the sad part for me. Like they're very different in a way. Like the backstory of the Inhumans is that they were like, you know, thousands of years ago or whatever, they were brought to the planet as like a science experiment by an alien race, and you know, as like human weapons kind of, or not really humans, but you know. And they get mutations when they go through the mist, so it's, you know, we can't call them mutations because someone else owns the rights, and they're not mutants in that sense, but it's very similar. Like at a certain age, that, you know, just like, you know, the X-Men or whoever, like their powers come in and maybe they change shape or whatever, but they've always sort of been kind of a background race of people. Like they get involved in stuff mostly like in outer space and whatnot. But since Marvel doesn't have the rights to the X-Men, they're like, well, we're just going to make that happen. And they're like canceling X-Men comics and doing everything they can to kind of push them to the side, which is actually really sad. But
Oh, that's a bummer.
Oh, they've even changed like the Quicksilver from Scarlet Witch's parentage, pretty much.
yeah, they like,
It's like, Magneto, you're not our father.
yeah, they're allowed to use them in the movies for the Avengers because they were on that team. They were never really on the X-Men, and so in the comics they're just like, well, now they have a completely different origin. why not?
I'm really interested in like which lawyer was the one who was like researching this and being like, okay, these people belong to this group, but also this group, and Spider-Man is these people's, but Oscorp is not. And
these deals were like all like back in like the 90s probably. And I mean, Marvel, I think, was like hurting for money when they made some of these deals. They had no dream of making movies. And then so they started to make movies, and then Disney bought them. And now Disney's like, wait, you don't have access to everything we bought, and they're just kind of being babies about it. So,
and I don't remember if I think I asked this somewhere, but in Avengers, did they call them Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, or they
I
call
think
them by their names?
I think they call her Witch like a few times, like the Witch, but mostly they just call them by their names. And I don't know if they ever even say Quicksilver. I don't remember.
It's kind of confusing because they called them Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in like the advertising all the time.
Right. But that seems like so common with superhero stuff nowadays, right? Like TV shows and movies, like, look who's showing up, and then they don't say the names, like they don't use the alias or whatever. Unless it's the Flash. Everyone has a name on that show.
Well, I think, I mean, basically it's this issue of, that was a stupid beginning for that sentence. I'm just going to delete that. What I'm saying is it's interesting to me that, and the show itself has kind of pointed it out that like season 1 was like, hey, not all superheroes are super, and like, the people that we deal with are just going to be like the extra powered ones that happen through science, and like there's no such thing as clairvoyance. And then season 2, it's like, oh, okay, there's people with like crazy magical powers,
and they can see the future, and
which was a great irony that Raina was like obsessed with the clairvoyant and then became clairvoyant.
Oh yeah, actually, that's interesting. I thought it was kind of funny in the first season when they're like, look, there's no one that can read minds. It doesn't exist. There's not like, and I'm just sitting here like, there's like tons of mutants that can do that. So I'm like, they're just sort of like, we don't have access to those characters. Shut up. Like, it just felt like a big call out to me. Like, we're not doing that. Because that would be the perfect thing for a S.H.I.E.L.D. show, is like, because, I think that's why, like, when mutants were introduced and they're going to use Inhumans to do the same thing, is like, they can just pop up all over the place now. And now we have like those little fish oil pills, so all of a sudden it could be, every other week or whenever you need it, someone shows up with powers and you don't have to explain it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's I'll be interested to see how they do it, because the last thing I want is for the show to return to a Freak of the Week type thing. Because I think it's generally agreed that it just didn't work. I mean, I don't think the show thought it worked. Like they don't have, when they've spoken about it, they haven't been like, man, you guys really didn't understand what we were doing that first half of the season, and like, it was really great stuff.
We were stalling for time.
Yeah. Didn't they have like the first few episodes in the can already?
Yeah, and then they were told what was coming.
No, I don't think that's how. I mean, you never know 100% because I don't feel like these people always tell the truth. But Marissa and Jed Whedon have mentioned that they, I think like the day after they like wrote the pilot or shot the pilot or something like that, they were like taken into like the Marvel secret place and were like, listen, so here's the script for Captain America 2. So I do think it was always like, maybe not in like the conception of the characters, but I think it was part of the plan for a very long time. I think they were just really severely hamstrung by the requirements. And I don't think that the show necessarily coped with it in the best way, because like I literally wanted to kill Skye.
Yeah.
I wanted to drop her off the plane. And I think, I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing. I do think that there are things that are in the first half of the season that are very clever when you look at them in retrospect, but we don't watch TV that way. But anyway, that's a conversation about season 1. So second half of season 2, Inhumans obviously become basically the focal point. We have finally the mystery of Skye's parents revealed completely. Not only is her mother an Inhuman, not only is her mother immortal, but her mother is alive. And like, I really
and a total bitch.
Which was our first warning sign.
Yeah, we really should have seen that one coming, I think. And they did a really good job because like if you think about the way Jiaying has been presented, like first she was like the first episode she was literally just this like screaming woman and like who gets carved up by Whitehall and and that's it. And then, gradually we kind of, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for her. And then we get this flashback to Gordon, learning his powers for the first time, and she's all sweet and wonderful. And, it's like, we love this lady. And it's like, oh no, it's so too bad that she can't be there to help Sky grow into her powers.
Yeah.
And then, they did a very interesting thing also where they take her from like totally like innocent and sweet to like, powerful but passionate,
like
and then right, exactly, and then they kind of grow her in like it very slowly and then suddenly grows from like, okay, she's just really defensive and a little bit overly cautious to like, no, she's on the warpath. And like, and also, by the way, she sucks away people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, right until that moment, I was like, Raina's doing something. Like, I was just like, there's, and maybe Gordon's in on it, or like, what's going on? Like, I did not expect her to just be like, screw you, like.
You mean when she killed Raina?
No, when she killed Adama.
Yeah, that was intense. That was
Well, and maybe I'm jumping forward to the season finale discussion, but did anybody else think when she actually was finally killed, like, okay, what do they do now? Do they chop her up into little bits and bury the pieces all over the globe? Like, if she can be brought back, like, isn't she still potentially dangerous?
Well, I guess, I mean, all he did was snap her neck, right? Like,
I think he
and then
her.
broke her spine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he
which seems like less
overboard.
than what Whitehall did.
Yeah, well, it seems like the impression we got is Whitehall just basically took everything out.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of thought of her in little pieces because she's got those kind of patchwork scars.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was definitely carved up. The thing is, it's interesting. Like, I don't know how Cal like revived her in terms of like if she was like dead.
No, wasn't it like the whole village of people who died?
Yeah, but
that's right.
No, that makes sense to me. But if Jiaying wasn't alive to like, she can suck people's powers away, people's life away as long as she's alive. But if she's dead, how can she do that? So like, how did Cal like get her alive enough to, maybe she just has to be touching some, I don't.
It depends on what they took from her and like. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but they also kind of, it was vague enough that we can't really question too much of it.
Yeah.
Well, I question it. Damn it.
Well, Deechan's a great actress, so if they want to bring her back, I would not necessarily be opposed to that. That was another funny thing that you just think from season to season, like the beginning, like the end of season 1. It was, Sky being like, oh my gosh, who are my parents? Blah, blah, blah. I'm such a devoted S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Like, and we had no idea who her parents were. And at the end of season 2, not only do we know exactly who her parents are, but her mother, we thought was dead, but is alive and is now dead again. And her father has his memory wiped. And turns out to be kind of a good guy when we thought he was horrible the whole season. So that was a big thing. We also met, obviously, Gordon, who has no eyes. We met Lincoln, who is a dumbass, and I hate him.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He's so stupid. Like, this guy, like at the end of the first episode of the finale, everything here is like chopped up into segments. You have to specify everything very carefully. The end of that episode when Jiaying like takes out the crystals on the ship. And Lincoln's like, oh, what now? It's like, well, what the hell do you think? Like, they're going to decorate? Like, what,
He's a pretty face. That's his role.
No, that is, I'm sorry. For me, it comes down to this. He thinks he's really cute, but he's not that cute. And it pisses me off. Because, like, he doesn't get to be this, like, I'm going to teach you and save you and be all this and that. He's just not cute enough.
So you're saying he's not hot enough to get away with it?
Exactly. Which is why I'm so which is why I feel so terrible about thinking that Ward was going to be a good guy all this time. It's because I thought he was kind of cute.
I mean, that is true. He is cute. But yeah, I mean, Lincoln, I don't know. What do you guys, the male half of this podcast, what do you think about Lincoln?
Yeah, I thought when I first saw him, I thought he was just like, oh, here's the love interest, this guy, whatever. Like,
yeah, I thought he was kind of pointless, but whatever. I wasn't offended.
You know, he's going to be in season 3 as like on the team or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. He's like the only other one we know, right?
Yeah, I don't. You know, it's frustrating to me because, like, if you have to have your two, like, love interest characters fall on top of each other and do the, oh my goodness, we're both in danger, but, like, wow, our bodies are so close together, you know, maybe we should just kiss instead of run away. And in the episode when Ward, when Coulson teams up with Ward and they all have that really confusing showdown at the warehouse building, yeah. Like Cal starts wailing on Lincoln and then they run away, and anyway they kind of fall into that thing, and I'm like, that is such a cliche. Like, I do not buy it. These guys have no chemistry whatsoever, and
I mean, it is Disney.
It's Disney, but, like, you know, the show has been good enough about subverting expectations so far, like with Sky and Ward, for example, that, like, I'm just so not impressed. Like, if they were like, oh, Lincoln just, like, died, you know, in this episode, I mean, that's fine. I don't care. So that is about Lincoln. We also had the major reveal, which was again another major mystery over the course of the hiatus, which was what the hell are Bobby and Mac up to? And we didn't know if they were Hydra, and we didn't know if they were, like, something else. And, like, I saw a few people suggest that they were, like, that they belong to another faction of S.H.I.E.L.D, and I was like, no, that's so redundant. That can't happen.
Why would they do that?
Wrong.
This other segment of S.H.I.E.L.D. that had time to change their logo.
And his priority this whole time.
Like, look, we need to order logos because we don't trust Fury. We can't let people think that we're aligned with him.
Fury really always liked this logo.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well, and that's part of why I was a little disappointed with, like, the backstory there, because it was like we missed a lot of, I don't know, like, they build it up like, well, Fury was holding all these secrets and we're just really against that, and they basically just show us what happened on the carrier, and they're like, well, you know, Gonzalez showed up at the academy, he did all of this badass stuff they don't show us, and other than kind of being hurt by, like, well, Fury didn't tell us things, it's like, well, like, Fury didn't know stuff too, and he was trying to figure it out, and, like, he's not really the problem.
Does he have to tell everyone everything? I mean, isn't that the whole point?
Well, yeah, like, you're in the military, you understand chain of command, so, like, you wouldn't be like, the president needs to tell me everything about aliens, like, or I quit. So, okay, get back in line, like.
Like, I agree with that, but I also think, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. is, like, a little bit different in that, like, I'll accept that they were pissed at Fury because of his secrecy, because that has been a theme pretty much since the first time Fury showed up. I mean, that he keeps secrets, and it was a big theme in Captain America too, and, you know, just kind of like every time you think you've gotten to Fury's, like, bottom level, like, there's deeper to go. And so I kind of wasn't upset about that. I was more just kind of confused at the functionality of it, that, like, could these two factions of S.H.I.E.L.D. really have existed? And, like, you know, because the government got involved with our S.H.I.E.L.D, right? Like, they were like, hey, we don't like you guys, we're trying to dismantle you.
And that was the whole big thing, is they're like, we're the S.H.I.E.L.D. of transparency. Don't tell the other S.H.I.E.L.D. we exist, or anyone else. Like, and send some secret agents. Like, it was like, it seems like they just sort of got out there first because they had more resources, and then decided to just be dark, and like, that's what they claimed they hated. So it was definitely hypocritical, I think.
Yeah.
But
I do like Agent Weaver.
Yeah, I liked most of the people there, except, I mean, what was the dude with the beard? I can't even remember now. His function was just to die.
Oh, the guy from Band of Brothers, or whatever it was.
But I mean, he didn't really do much.
He was in Band of Brothers. I don't know his character was.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I haven't I've tried to think about the logistics of it, and I can I'm pretty cool with how it went, again, as I mentioned earlier, because it does, I guess once they revealed it in full, I felt a little bit naive in that I hadn't expected something like this. I was kind of thinking that I felt kind of silly being oh, well, of course there are people in S.H.I.E.L.D. who aren't into this and who don't like Coulson, and that another faction could arise. So I guess maybe it's just, part of it is just the idea of it is quite jarring.
After the fact that there's a lot of overlap in resources and Coulson never noticed.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they probably cut everything off. They were probably just floating around. I mean, I guess on the defense side, it doesn't seem as though Gonzalez's version of S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually doing anything. They were just kind of floating around on the boat, keeping low, and then sending out feelers to Coulson's group.
But I mean, they did say that they had several other facilities, and they so it seemed if Coulson's trying to contact one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. facilities that went dark, he's just going to assume that Hydra took it over, but then he would probably have to actually verify that at some point. Which, I mean, it's minor at the end of the day, but and I think they did a real good job of showing that they were willing to, in the end, they were willing to work together, and they came around okay, maybe Coulson's not the monster we thought, and we could have a council, and we could have input, and we could sort of have it both ways.
Yeah.
I figure if May thinks it's okay, it's okay.
That's a good point. That's a pretty good point.
Because May's basically never wrong.
Pretty much, is she?
So aside from obviously, and another thing I thought they actually handled really well was the Bobby and Mac thing, and kind of Hunter accidentally getting caught up in this little thing, because I thought they played that really kind of honestly, that they feel both like they have betrayed S.H.I.E.L.D. and they've been loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. and they don't exactly know how to feel about the whole thing, and the show kind of doesn't make them choose. It's not like Ward, where it's obviously Hydra is evil, you are doing bad things when you work for Hydra, that they kind of do exist in that gray space. And I think the way that they come around on it, I loved Mac's apology to Hunter, and his apology a bunch of times actually, that he was I'm not sorry for being loyal to the other S.H.I.E.L.D. because I believe in what I did, but I'm sorry that I hurt you, and I maybe should have handled it better. And I liked it. I thought it was realistic, and
Yeah, and I did like that pretty much everyone involved stuck to their convictions without, they were able to give ground or admit, maybe this wasn't the best way to do things, but they didn't just go, oh, we were so wrong. They were we still believe in what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's another piece of it that kind of makes the whole multiple S.H.I.E.L.D. thing work, is that you really do believe that everyone involved has humanity's interest, best interest at heart. They just maybe didn't all, proceed with the same approach, and
Yeah, I never for a second thought that they were working for Hydra or doing anything particularly nefarious.
Yeah, they tried to make you think that, but I was like, come on. They're good guys. They love each other.
And they feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I also loved, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s reaction, that scene where Fitz and Simmons when Gonzalez is trying to pitch them on this whole thing, and they're just no, we're not talking to you. Just we hate you so much right now. So I guess another major element of season 2, or I guess not even such a major element because they were only in 4 episodes, but Ward and Agent 33 found love together in the time of Hydra.
Did they?
In their own way.
I do think that 33 loved him in her sad, sick, horrible puppy way. I think we're supposed to believe that Ward loved her in the way things end.
Yeah, his reaction there, like...
See, that was the only time that they kind of convinced me. And it makes sense on paper. Like, they're both really broken people, and they're kind of filling needs for each other. But I just didn't feel like there was much chemistry. I was like, And with Ward, I don't trust anything he does. And I can't, like, get a read on him. So I'm like, I could never tell if he was actually playing her.
I thought he was a lot of the time, but I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell either.
I feel like to get...
Doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But to get, like, super psychological about this, my interpretation is kind of like he was genuine, but he was also, like Ward just wanted to hurt people. You know, I think that is an urge that he has. I think he is to some extent a psychopath. And through Kara, he was able to find people and justify hurting them. You know, I don't really think he was, like, aware of that.
And
I
think at the very least we can say that he didn't want to hurt her.
Right. Yes. Even though, you know what drove me crazy though? Like
that's what I always strive for.
Don't murder people.
Not murder.
Sometimes I'm, like, really down on myself, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't killed anyone. Like, it's not so bad.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I'm not murdering you right now? That's how much I love you.
I think I've actually said that to my husband. I've certainly said it about him.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though, right? That, like, it's so deeply, you know, messed up. The entire concept of these two being together is just, like, deeply kind of disgusting, in a way, for me, because, you know, she has no ability to have agency, really, you know, and she just, like, latches onto Ward and for some reason decides to save his life, I guess, because he's, like, the first person she sees after Whitehall killed. And it just, you know, what really stuck out to me was those scenes where he was like, okay, so we're going to go do this evil thing. And she's like, you know, I'm not sure if I really want to, like, go murder all these people. And he's like, oh, no, trust me, you really do. And she was like, oh, okay, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah. If you say so. And, like, that was just, like, at that point I really thought, like, there might be redemption for 33. And then, like, at the end when she was like, I don't know if I can kill Bobby. She isn't angry. She isn't sad enough. I was like, okay, you're done. Like, this is not going to turn out well.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
It was a good way to hold that death for a second.
Yeah.
A little bit of plot armor in there, you know.
I guess we could just address, like, her ending now, because I am so torn on the one hand between, like, this character obviously, like, really not having any agency, but also doing a lot of evil things, and also, like, being totally devoted to Ward, like, accepting no substitutes, and then, like, and you know, also, like, a woman of color, like, just being killed off like that. But at the same time, like, I can't really argue away from the, like, awful poetry of Ward, like, hating May to such an extent that he wanted to kill her. He wanted to do that and was, like, eager to do it. And May switching around, like, the thing that had given Kara the ability to cause so much mayhem, in other words, being in May's face, was what brought her down. And I, like, as much as I really wish that Ward had died and Kara had become kind of like the new head of Hydra instead, and then maybe eventually would get her own redemption arc, and I still really would have preferred that, but I can't deny that it's got a real poetry to it.
Yeah,
Well, it gave me goosebumps when you were talking about it, so it must be something. Either that or because I took my shoes off, but I loved it. I was just like, yeah.
Yep. That moment though, like when you realize who it is, it's like, oh my god.
She was setting something up, and
it's very tragic, but it's also very fulfilling.
What plan was. Mhm.
Yeah. And then we have Bobby, who is like the best badass ever.
She's pretty awesome.
Oh, she is so awesome. Like, I think she lost some of her like mojo through the second half of the season, which makes sense because I think the character was conflicted about a lot of things. And then like when Ward just had her on that like bench, like torturing her, it was like, oh my god, I worship you. every word out of her mouth was like pure gold. And it was, yeah. And like she thought she was going to die, right? Like she did not take that bullet with the anticipation that she wouldn't die. Like she thought she was dead.
Yeah, that was her. Yeah. I mean, it was her instead of him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So do we buy that whole love story? Because it was such an interesting little twist when they kind of, you know, when she came on and it was like, oh, that was the ex-wife that I was going on and on about. Like, as much as I really thought that they did have chemistry and I enjoyed watching them together, but I just wonder, like, is there ever going to be able to be a future there?
Well, they have their own show.
I guess we'll find out, but... Oh, that's right. I guess we'll find out.
That was sort of my one problem with the finale. It's like I'd heard that like they were getting a spinoff, so I was like, well, neither of them are dying here, so there wasn't really any danger, any suspense. So, but I thought like all of that was really well done. If I hadn't known that, it probably would have been better.
Yeah, they're actually not. They're not getting a spinoff though. They canceled that.
Oh, did they?
They did. I mean, like, apparently it's still, like, a possibility, but for now it's shelved. And I'm kind of glad about that because, like, I really like them on the show. And I think, you know, they work very well within the context of the team. And to, I guess, address your point, Amber, I think, like, Hunter kind of, like, alludes to this at one point or other, which is that, like, the stability of being on the base is actually really good for them. Because they aren't like, and I got the sense that, you know, a portion of their instability, obviously they're both kind of volatile people and they're both liars and they're both selfish. But they, you know, they really, I think they really did care for each other. And that's kind of why Hunter's, you know, demonic ex-wife is said with such fervor, you know, because he's still not really over Bob.
Can't get over it.
Right. Exactly. But I think that like being tied to the base, being around people who are supporting them and kind of not being able to like, you know, they don't have to deal with their stuff like on a mission, you know, they can like the mission and their day-to-day life is, I think for them as separate as it would ever be on the base. And I think that's why they both kind of were able to kind of move it forward into something more productive.
Yeah, I mean, like they said on the show, a lot of the problem was, like, you know, his problem was always her devotion to S.H.I.E.L.D, which I think was more of, like, she was always gone, she was always choosing something else over him, and, like, having a shared cause, you know, allows them to be like, well, you know, you never have to really choose it, like, we've both chosen this together. So, like, that issue's thrown out.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what else happened. Well, let's just talk about the finale. We had the reveal of Cal as Calvin Zabo, officially Mr. Hyde. Oh, you know what? Before that, let's just talk about the impact of Age of Ultron, and I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. impact on Age of Ultron, which Age of Ultron did not acknowledge at all. Thank you. I was so annoyed though. I was really, really pissed off at like everyone's seen Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so listener, I hope you
only twice so far though, so I guess I'm not a big enough fan.
Well, I only saw it once, so I'm not sure I'm going to see it again. But you know that scene where Ultron is like waking up and like scrolling through the internet and finding out about everything, and like learning who Tony Stark is and all that. Like, why could there not have been like a like tiny like half a second clip of like footage from a mission or something of the team. Like, leave Coulson out of it. That's fine, so that they don't know that Coulson, there's not even a possibility. But, like, there must have been security footage or something that he could have tapped into that, like, would not have confused the normal audience at all, but just would have been like, hey, S.H.I.E.L.D. people, like, yep, they're here,
just like
you know.
like Sky's, like, agent file or something. Or
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I read an interview with Joss where he talks about how he wanted to include some, but the movie was just way too overpacked as it was. He already cut like an hour out of it, and it, like, I guess the decision was made somewhere that they didn't want to confuse, viewers who weren't following the show, etc. But I mean, like, a small little cameo wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would have loved to have seen, like, Fitzsimmons or somebody just, like, walking around like the Avengers Academy at the end.
Or even you have Hill there, and as much as I love the character, she's mostly pointless for the movie. When she's going off to look up to stuff, you could, she could be on a video screen, talking to Simmons or something. Like, how hard would that have been, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. Something that bothers me is that, like, I think there maybe aren't as many, like, casual S.H.I.E.L.D. fans as there are just, like, mostly a smaller group of very rabid fans. At least that's my perception of it. And I think, I guess what I was just going to say is that, like, it does feel a little bit one-sided. Like, it feels like, you have the S.H.I.E.L.D. fans who put a lot of love and thought into the show, and then kind of like Marvel Studios being like, but we don't want to confuse anyone, so, like, you're not going to get anything in the movie, and I don't think anybody is, like, mean about it, but I always feel very defensive of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, this is the feeling that's evolved, that has continued since last season, or was started at the beginning of last season. And, it would have been nice it would have been nice to be validated in the, on the big screen in some way.
Well, I mean,
I always like to be pandered to.
In some ways, I mean, they just sort of did it in the reverse, right? Because, I mean, Age of Ultron opens, pretty quickly, and essentially that episode, the tie-in episode, is kind of like the prequel to the movie. It just it doesn't show up, but I mean, I think it's a good enough tie-in. The problem that I think some people have and the worry is, like, well, in the future at some point they're just going to go, you know what? It's not connected anymore, and we're just done with it. Like, Coulson's dead in the movies, like, what Inhuman stuff is all going to be different. Like, I think that's what people are worried about. I don't think they would do that because they spent a lot of time on this shared universe and saying that's what they want to do. So,
there are different groups of Inhumans, so this isn't the main group.
No, these wouldn't be the people that are in the movie, but I'm just wondering if some of the stuff established here, if they would just rewrite that or not. Like, I think that's the concern that some people have had, I've seen online.
Yeah, I hear that.
Like, once a director comes in, if they decide they don't like something, they go to the studio and say, you know what, I don't want to do that.
Then they fired Edgar Wright. So is there who was doing that? So
true.
I'm still pissed off about.
I thought he stepped down.
Where he left.
Well, wasn't he on the
because
project
they pressured
for like
him into
8
leaving?
years, on and off?
Yeah, he's been working on it since Iron Man 1, because they were in the same Comic-Con together, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
And then it just kept getting pushed back, and I think because they had this interconnected universe thing now that said, we want to put all these things in as well. They just, no, I don't want to do that.
And I could if that's what the issue is, or his issue was, I can understand that, because sometimes it's just you can't fit it, and I think, like, that was part of the problem that Age of Ultron had and Iron Man 2 had, was they stuffed a lot of stuff in there that wasn't really necessary, in favor of setup, and the movie suffered because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I would be, I guess, more like, I think there's a balance. Like, I think a movie like Ant-Man could definitely afford to be more on its own, because it's kind of like Daredevil, and that, like, I mean, I'm sure it will have an impact on the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe and blah, 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 but, like, who the hell cares? it's stupid Ant-Man. And like, do you need Peggy Carter in there? Do you need like whatever the tie-ins are going to be? Like I'm sure Ed Wright, like he knew he was working for Marvel. Like you don't get everything you want when you're working for Marvel. Marvel gets most of what they want, but I can't even imagine like how, like where the overload point was, for him. I guess we'll have to see Ant-Man and see like what actually happened. But yeah, I mean, I went from being like, okay, I'm not really interested in Ant-Man, but I love Ed Wright, and if he's enthusiastic about it, then great, to being like, why am I seeing another movie about a white male superhero without Ed Wright directing it? So
yeah, well, at least they chose the Ant-Man that's not a wife beater.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the old guy.
Yeah, he's just in it as the old guy.
I hope they mention that somehow. Because it's
That he's a wife beater?
Yeah. That would
because
be interesting.
there was this thing at when a Comic-Con panel. There was like they were talking about what's her name? Evangeline Lilly's character, and they like one guy used one surname and she like used another surname. She was saying, "Oh no, it's Hope Pym," and then like
and then they were like, no, it's
the
not.
old guy was going Van Dyne or whatever.
Yeah.
So it could be like, there was
Dyken
marital
like,
strife, and then they split up when he was younger or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Could have a mention. But
yeah, well, we'll have the chance to figure that out soon enough, I guess. So it also would have been nice to see, like, I don't know, like Ultron parts like scattered on the carrier or something.
We went straight from the main Ultron tie-in was like that little prequel, and then we showed how the helicarrier got in the movie, which was really cool. But that's like a flashback, right? And then it's like, Gonzalez is there. You did a good job helping. That was good helping save people from Ultron. And it's like, you couldn't have had an episode.
I really thought Eddie almost didn't believe in that line.
He was like, "What am I saying?" Like, I haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know what's going on. Just deliver the line. They shot that like a week before the movie opened or something. But
Ultron is who now?
But it's like in the movie too. Like Ultron like takes over technology or something, and there's not really a scene where Stark is like, oh, well, I have to like hack my stuff to get it back. Like that could have been like an Age of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, right? Where they're like, oh, the Avengers need our help behind the scenes. Like, that could have just been like, a 5-minute thing where they're like helping, during something else.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not perfect by any means, but I guess we kind of have to take it as it is. I'm still hopeful for like some kind of crossover, like Hawkeye coming in for like 5 minutes or something.
Oh, they could spend some time on his farm.
Yeah.
Well, the issue there is that
Fitz has to fix the tractor because Doc never fixed that.
Mac shows up with a wrench. But because they all still think Coulson's dead, which I don't understand why, but like I guess that reveal would have to happen in one of the movies, like where Coulson shows up and they're like, "You're not dead," because if it happened on TV, then no one would get it, right?
Yeah, I suppose Thor knows because what's her face? Sif will tell him.
Well, did she tell, or didn't Coulson tell Sif to be like, keep it on the down low?
Maybe the first time.
Oh yeah, but not the second time. Like, see, she was good on the show, and I mean, I think they could definitely bring people in, like someone like Hawkeye or Cap, or they would make sense. It's just getting them to do it and getting Marvel to agree to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a level of bigness there that I don't know if they could afford.
I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has spent all of 45 seconds on screen on the show, but at least they got. I mean, he's in everything. But I mean, if he did it, come on, come on, Chris Evans, come on.
It's fucking Star Wars. He's in everything.
Yeah.
What about?
Anyway, So the season finale basically, gave us some things to talk about. We had Cal as Mr. Hyde, which I think I brought up. I had no idea what to expect. So what did you guys think about it? I can't talk. I'm hearing myself echo. You guys go.
Echo.
Yeah, it was a good episode. As finales go, very exciting, double length.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. I loved the episode. It just made me so happy about.
Some great what fucks at the end as well.
Yeah.
Like Coulson's hand and the thing that Mikhail will probably talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, I know that it's not like I've been thinking about this nonstop since I saw the episode.
So what did you think of Mr. Hyde's transformation? I thought it did remind... I don't know if you've ever seen the Carry On films from like 70s Britain, but it did look like Jim Dale as a monster in Carry On Screaming, but with less hair.
Yeah, the whole season, they were building towards, like, something with him, and I'm like, oh, when is he gonna go Mr. Hyde? When is he gonna, like, because we show rooms that have been basically destroyed by him, right? But we always see it, after the fact, and so far, he's mostly just gone crazy and, cut some people up, or, he's just been kind of an angry guy. And now he's got this serum, and I'm like, oh, they're probably not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And then eventually, I see a guy in makeup, which is weird.
Like, obviously, I don't really have an expectation, but and they can't go like, oh, this guy's the Hulk now, But it was a little bit like, I was expecting a little more. Like, to see a little bit more of the physical manifestation of that strength, I guess.
Is he supposed to be, like, gamma irradiated in some way or something like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I think he's taking chemicals.
But he does get huge. I mean, he gets, like, Hulk huge. So I thought maybe they would give us, some of that CG budget on that. But they spent so much time on him, and it was really more of a character moment with him. So I get why they went with the cheesy makeup, but it's also disappointing.
The cheesy makeup was cheesy. Yeah.
Let me see.
That was probably one of my few nitpicks.
I had some childish glee when I saw the reuse of the Winter Soldier props.
Yes, that was cool.
Keeping pins in the wall.
I like that. I definitely like that. So yeah, I mean, Cal kind of, though, even though he does go Hulk, or not Hulk, he goes like weird puppet Hulk. He does kind of turn out to be a good guy, which bothered me a little bit. We saw that. We had kind of this interesting resolution with Mr. Hyde. I don't know if you guys heard our conversation about Mr. Hyde, but our consensus was kind of weird. That was basically the long and short of it. We talked about Bobby. Coulson lost his hand, which someone in a podcast that I listened to pointed out that this actually kind of happens in a lot of Marvel movie stuff. Like, this has kind of become a theme.
Like Thor's fake hand getting lopped off. And
yeah,
Bucky
and I can't think of any other ones, but I think there were some.
Well, Claw in Age of Ultron just got his hand cut right off there.
Yes.
It's the most PG-13 limb to sever.
Basically.
And my husband brought
That's
up
why I
that
think
in
you lose
Ultron...
on every Star Wars movie.
And in Star Wars, it's like there's no blood. Because of the lightsaber.
Cauterized.
Yeah.
So convenient. My husband pointed out that, in Ultron they introduced whatever the doctor was that has that regeneration machine. So maybe he could either get some sort of Deathlock appendage, or he could just go hang out with her and kind of get that hand regenerated again, maybe.
Yeah.
That was my theory.
Well, I guess it's just like
I thought she was dead in that movie, but the second time I saw it, she's at the end. Oh, okay, so we can't actually have even a side character die.
Yeah, but her technology is still alive. I mean, come on.
Maybe she's an LMD.
They still haven't really done that yet.
No,
But,
they
I
just
mean,
had one mention in the Avengers.
But like
movie.
Agent Patton Oswalt, come on.
Oh, he's totally an LMD.
Like,
Completely.
yeah, they've got to be.
All right, guys, it's a what?
Oh, a life model decoy.
It's
Oh,
the
okay.
trick in the comics. They have like Fury uses them basically like he is like ordering out for Chinese. Like they have these life model decoys. Like so whenever you don't want to get killed or it's convenient for the plot, something that looks and walks and talks and acts just like a human shows up, and then if it gets killed, he's like, I was actually a mile away, like. And I think they went from like robots to being kind of organic.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot to think about there. I don't know, I just can't, I mean, I kind of hope maybe we get like a little montage of like Coulson testing out fake hands and then just goes like, you know what,
Yes.
I'll just get a real replacement, like.
He just gets a hook.
He's the best.
He tries the hook for a while. He's like, come on.
I really do consume a lot of media with people losing hands, though. Funny. So yeah, that happens in the finale. Ward is. In case you guys can't tell, I'm like pushing off talking about the thing that I actually want to talk about. Ward is probably becoming the head of Hydra. I mean, I can see actually an argument that he's trying to get revenge on Hydra, because he doesn't actually say anything about like what he's gonna do. He just kind of says like, I'm looking for closure, because that's like he learned that word and was like, I like this word.
He wants a team.
Word of the month.
Yeah.
He wants his own groovy team of super freaky friends.
Yeah, but those were really bad choices.
Yeah.
That guy says Hail Hydra to that. Like,
You heard her to that.
just should not be allowed. Like even among
you would
henchmen.
think that Hydra would be like extremely discriminating. And like we've had this secret for like 50 years. We got to really keep it on the low. You got people like Pierce and Cap 2, but no, man. Like they'll just recruit like bikers. Like why not?
Well, I guess even bad guys have taste, right? So.
Yeah. But I don't know. Either he's going to be like one of the heads of Hydra or something. I think that would be a good way to go with it. Or maybe he creates.
Well, they're down to very few characters. Oh, this is probably time I want to mention the really awesome way they just wrapped up the Hydra thing mid-season. It's like
Yes, in the beginning of
how they just took out every like single-headed Hydra that was left, apart from a couple of guys
that we know of.
Yeah, we know.
I was really torn about that actually, because on the one hand, like obviously we needed to move toward Inhumans and that kind of thing, but I don't like it when shows are like, oh, and this thing that you've been really worried about for all this time is totally not a big deal. Like we have it completely under control now. But I mean, it was okay because they brought back List and they kind of didn't make it as like as much of a wipeout as I thought it would be.
Yeah, and there's kind of that disparity, like movie Hydra, like in Age of Ultron was like, oh my gosh, like the S.H.I.E.L.D. people could not handle this. But I don't know, like I think it's kind of funny. I mean, next season I think it'll be the fan theory that Ward is actually the Red Skull.
What? Or is Baron Zemo? What?
No, that's the fan theory. Everyone's the Red Skull. Thanos is the Red Skull. Everybody's the Red Skull.
It's just like the everyone's a secret target.
Yeah, kind of. But because the actor who played the Red Skull is like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. So even if they try to bring him back, like it would obviously have to be a different character. I think Pierce in the first, before Cap 2 came out, they're like, oh, he must be the Red Skull. Like there's whoever's cast is like, there's a rumor that they're the new Red Skull.
Well, you know who the new Red Skull is? Dario.
Simmons.
Fabulous Dario.
Dario.
A red skull and blue hair.
Well, something got to make it more
Simmons,
interesting.
you said it.
It's Simmons. Should we talk about Simmons?
Yeah.
Guys, Simmons!
Wait, did something happen?
You don't know how much okay, I got a screener for this episode, and I was like, I was really, really emotional because I had this theory for like the whole season that she was going to die or something horrible was going to happen to her. And then the main action of the episode like ended with like 20 minutes left, and I was like, oh no, oh my god, they're trying to fool me. And then they kept going and going and going. I was like, okay, maybe we're in the clear. You know, Simmons is like.
And you breathed a sigh of relief right before that scene.
I did, yeah. And then it said next, you know, we'll be right back. And then it came back, and I was like, fuck, oh no.
Don't stand so close to that thing.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, let's go on a date,
you know it's
right?
you know it's
Oh,
bad
this is
because he's gonna ask her out.
Yeah, exactly. Like that whole scene was like torture for me to watch, because like also you have no idea what's actually going to happen. Like, as much as, you know, as terrible as my theories were, her getting sucked up and swallowed by this rock water thing was not among my theories. And you know,
it's also Fitz's fault. Yeah, the thing.
It is sort of Fitz's fault.
He left. It can only act when no one else is around, and if there's two people in the room, you're safe, right? Like, it's some sort of scary monster.
That's the thing. Like, is it something about her specifically, or is it just like, you know?
It's like, now's the time to make my move. I don't know. Like, I have no idea what that thing is. Like, and I thought for sure Fitz was going to be the one getting it for like half of the episode. Especially when he's getting geared up, and then he's, you know, they're on the carrier, and I'm like, oh, it's about to, and then they fake us out with Gordon, and then I'm like, maybe it's safe, but maybe not. And then, same way, I was like, all right, well, I guess they're not gonna screw with those two like they did last year. Good.
Do you think he's over his brain damage now? Because he's a lot, like,
it got
more
better.
Complimented. It got better.
That's what it seems like.
I think it's like a little faster, a lot faster probably than is realistic, but it's not like impossible from what I gather for someone to recover like a lot of their skills. Who did we just lose?
Amber.
Oh, okay. So it's not like, that's not impossible to happen. But yeah, I think the sense is that he at least was over his brain damage. I don't know what's going to happen now.
Well, he's still wearing that cardigan, though. So he can't be completely better.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And it's not that I dislike the cardigan. I'm not shitting on the cardigan. I'm just saying that was kind of like the clue. It's like, oh, okay. That's how we know.
Well, I think kind of it may not be necessarily that he's healed, but it's also he's sort of refocused his efforts on the things that he can do and he's capable at, whereas in the beginning of the season he was just like, I can't do anything, I can't do what I used to do. And while he still does some of that, like he's out in the field and
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Simmons again.
Does that just happen throughout your day? You just be walking on the street and just freeze?
It does. The like 2-3 weeks before the finale were not fun. Because I've been watching the show very carefully where she's concerned, and there have been kind of a lot of like, you know, foreshadowing things. Like in the second episode back, like with Sif, Coulson and May have that conversation about like, you know, wherever Sky goes, death follows, and then like that transitions into S.H.I.E.L.D. and you see Simmons like right away, and I was like, crap, damn it, no, I can't. And I don't know.
How early did you get that screener?
For that episode, or for the finale?
For the finale.
No,
finale. I got the first part on Wednesday, so like right after, and then it cuts like with Bobby in the chair and Jiaying like giving Gordon like the crystals, and he's like, what do we do with these? And you know, she's like, again. And then I didn't get it until Sunday night, and I was like, the whole time I was actually like making myself more confident, because nothing really happens with Simmons in the first half, and I was like, okay, maybe I was wrong, like maybe this will be okay. Yeah.
But I mean, do we think she's dead?
No.
I mean, I don't know.
The actress doesn't think she's dead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like she's showing up right away, or maybe she's not going to be a regular for a while or ever again or something. But
she may not have a
she's
body.
Dead.
Yeah.
Oh, so she's chilling out with Graviton or whatever in that little ball.
Yeah, I mean, like when's she coming back?
Well, so
I need that guy.
I was thinking like it's obviously not the same thing, but it is this. It is the same kind of visual effect. And I was wondering, like, if they're going to, because they've been sitting on the Graviton stuff for a long time by now. Like, I was convinced that was going to come in before season 1 was over, and we're still waiting on it. So I'm wondering if they might use that as a
catalyst.
Prime. Right, exactly. Although honestly, my theory is just going to be that like it actually spit Simmons right out, and like nobody knows about this.
But she's changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's a thing to kill Inhumans, right? It's a Kree invention, or so they say.
Yeah.
Well, they said they're
and she's had like fear of people's powers, whatever.
Like they're really afraid of it, and I don't know.
The way she was talking when Sky got changed.
Yeah.
So it could be linked.
But she changed her opinion, it must be said.
Only with Sky, I think.
No, she wasn't like killing all the other ones. She was just kind of like, I don't know what to do about this.
But yeah, it could be a thing like next season we just see her in her first scene and like nothing's happened, and it could be.
And she's got, they turn away and she's got crazy black eyes.
Because the whole like, I would hate for it to be some sort of like disembodied voice scenario.
Yeah, but what would hurt me the most though is if like it's not Simmons at all. Like if Simmons is dead now and whatever that thing is just uses her body, and like I can't handle that.
Yeah, that's never happened on a Joss show.
No. I'm still not over that. Like not at all. But I mean, part of me is excited because, like I said, I do think that Simmons has gotten a little bit sidelined this season. And like since she got back from Hydra, she really hasn't done anything except be like, Inhumans are bad. Okay, I guess maybe Inhumans aren't bad. And then, I feel like this could be like an option for her to kind of be like next season's like Sky sort of, in terms of the changing is happening around her, and like this Herald like whatever is going on.
Like she was afraid of people with powers, and then now she's one that has powers,
or she's the one who like destroys them. Like if she becomes like the embodiment of this thing, then
yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah. I'm convinced. I have this like scenario in my head that the writers' room of this show, and now actually Game of Thrones too, just like keeps a fan in a cage in the corner and like throws ideas at the fan, and like the loudest the fan screams, it's like, we're gonna do that.
Yes. But yeah, no. I think
they just follow your tweets, Michelle.
Yeah. That would be nice if they followed my tweets. But then they probably would have had Simmons be brainwashed because, like, that was going to happen, in my opinion.
She could be playing the long con.
That would be really funny if, like, there's this whole thing happens, blah, 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 and then Whitehall comes back and is like, clear your mind.
They swapped her out with the Red Skull. She's the Red Skull now.
Simmons would actually make an awesome Red Skull. Let's not lie. But...
Well, he has a daughter.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who gets like a kind of Thor's hammer thing eventually, or whatever. No, she gets burnt, and then she becomes the Red Skull after the Red Skull dies. Yeah, for that. And then she gets like an evil Thor's hammer.
An evil Thor's hammer.
Yeah. The Fear Itself storyline. You heard of that? No?
What? Oh yeah. I skipped that.
Yeah. Because it basically fucks everything up.
Yeah, I was like, I had some friends who I was like, oh, tell me if it's any good, and they're like, no, at the end everything basically goes back to normal. So I just skipped it.
Okay, so I guess the only thing left really to discuss is the idea that, obviously they're filming Captain America Civil War now, and apparently that's basically Avengers 2.5. And, like, I think I don't know if they've confirmed it, but I think they've confirmed that the Civil War element is the registering of superheroes versus not registering of superheroes. And no,
well, I just don't see how they could do that.
I mean,
because there's so few of them right now. Like, I mean,
we've got all these.
Like everyone knows who Tony Stark
pre-bills,
is and Cap and and pretty much everyone is like S.H.I.E.L.D. knows who most of these people are. I mean, if the thing is like everyone has to be S.H.I.E.L.D. sanctioned and trained or else you're a criminal. I mean, that's probably the closest they could do. But like the whole like we need to know who all these people are and we need to have them trained and like there's not all that many like secret heroes right now that would take up that cause. I think is the problem.
Do you think there's a way within that time frame of the beginning of a movie to address the whole what is it, omega CREI pills? Like maybe a bunch of people just start popping up
that
and they're
would be
like,
the
oh shit,
replacement,
we have to get a handle on this.
The replacement mutants, right? But then it was before the Inhumans movie, so I can't see them introducing Inhumans to the movies before they have their own separate movie. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, Spider-Man, Daredevil, there's a few guys, Luke Cage, like those are all on the TV shows, right?
Oh, from what I've heard about it, it's not like registration. It's like who's accountable to who. So it's like, the Avengers are acting on their own, but do they need like supervision or whatever?
Yeah, because I can't see it being like you guys have to work under S.H.I.E.L.D. supervision because people are still kind of upset with S.H.I.E.L.D. over the whole Hydra thing.
Yeah, well, it'd be like the US government.
Yeah.
Just the US. Nobody else.
I think General Ross.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it was like, because S.H.I.E.L.D. was international, right? So that was the idea in the comics why it worked. But I don't know, I'm sure they'll figure something out for that. I'm just more curious, like, who's going to side with who, and like, are they going to, I mean, it would be the perfect opportunity to bring, Coulson back for some reason, or like, into the movie, like, it's I don't know. They probably won't, but it would be nice.
Agreed. I mean, I guess we'll have to see. I'm not sure exactly when Civil War is coming out. Is it like the same time?
Is it 2016?
It's next year, so next April-ish.
Oh, okay.
So because they're shooting right now,
isn't it like a week away from Batman v Superman as well?
Oh, maybe.
Because they were supposed to be on the same day.
Yeah, I remember reading all kinds of everyone. And that's what they argue about in Hollywood is release dates, right?
Yeah.
We can't. Well, you know what? You can't wear that same dress. I'm already wearing it. Like.
Right. Well, it does feel a little bit like seeing the cast for this one is a little bit like they were like, oh well, you have 2 superheroes in your movie. Well, we'll have all the superheroes in our movie.
But like how
they've only got 2 so far.
How long are any of them going to show up? I wonder. But
there's more superheroes in the episode of The Flash than they got in their DC universe at the moment.
Batman versus Superman is supposed to have like 5 other people in it, right?
Technically,
they'll probably just show up at the end or something, but it's supposed to have like Aquaman, and I think they're working on a Flash and all that. They've cast people anyway.
Well, they got a Wonder Woman, and who's like really skinny and apparently can't act.
Hey, she was in those Fast and Furious movies, bro.
Oh, was she? Oh, good. Well, because they're superheroes, apparently.
They are. Have you not seen any of them?
I have not seen any of them.
That is, you can't. No.
I've seen the trailers, and they're like driving cars from one building to another building when they're like a mile apart.
They
like 10 miles in the air.
They all have Wolverine powers to survive those things.
And they're coordinated drivers.
And they chase a plane for literally like 30 minutes on the runway while it's taking off. It's the longest runway in the world, and it's amazing.
All right. Well, I think that kind of brings us to a close of our discussion of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. But yeah, so I think, we'll probably be back next year. Fingers crossed for a good season. Fingers crossed for Simmons to be safe. fingers crossed to whatever your particular favorite part of this little endeavor is. And yeah, check us out on the Vassals of Kingsgrave website, which is vokpodcast.wordpress.com, and the Podcast Spice and Fire forums, and you can just find us all over the internet. So thank you so much for listening, and may the force be with you.
I was going to go with may the amorphous alien blob objects be with you as a sort of replacement to Hail Hydra last year, but I don't think it will work.
So say we all?
Well,
Yes, so say we are.
I did want to ask you guys one thing. Would you take, or do you plan on taking fish oil now? Or, because I've seen reactions of people being like, I'm not taking fish oil anymore. And people being like, I'm out to buy fish oil.
I got a fridge full of that stuff.
That's as good a reason as any.
I did like the little like tagline on those bottles. It says, "This will change your life."
Yeah, I kind of okay. That's not how you spell Daleks, right?
No.
Okay.
The R.
But if you had that accent,
Yeah.
then it would maybe be okay.
Okay, you sound a
Good to
little
go.
Dalek-y,
A
but
little bit like a robot.
yeah.
Oh, really? Because that's what you were all sounding like.
Oh,
a little
yeah,
bit.
earlier you didn't, now you do.
You're all perfect now.
Dang it. Ultron!
Yeah, I have to restart mine a couple of times.
Okay. It'll be fine.
So while we're not recording and I don't look stupid, what was the Winter Soldier thing? Either I missed it or I forgot.
The car and the ram thing.
Oh,
So he
that's
rammed him with
right.
the car and then had the ram thing they used to break in the window.
All right, so I have to run out, but lovely speaking to you guys, and hopefully we can do this again. And I'll post all my psychotic reactions when season 3 comes around. I was kind of avoiding the forums because I was seriously in such a state of anxiety about this show that I couldn't be bothered to talk about it, and then so now I feel like I can discuss it. It can't hurt me for another 7 weeks or something.
Well, you got Game of Thrones to do that for you.
Yeah, you've got plenty of pain on the horizon.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been the worst TV week of my life. Oy vey, I can't. All right. I will speak to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Adam, do you want to send the shut up, Eddie. Did I do that last year? I think I did.
Yeah, you sort of said screw you and signed up. And that's all I heard from you.
In the best possible way.